This story just breaking from the team over at Bloomberg that the EU is said to be planning to propose removing some U.S. industrial tariffs this week. Why would that move be taking place? What would the EU be hoping to accomplish?
The EU is trying to accomplish this very quickly. This was one of the conditions that the U.S. put on Brussels for carrying out the framework trade agreement that they have announced in recent weeks. If the EU can get that through the legislative process, the U.S. in turn will lower auto tariffs on European cars from 27.5% down to 15%. And that could be, if they get it done this week, the Europeans get it done this week, that could be retroactive to August 1st. So there's a lot at stake for the German auto companies in a quick implementation of the European side of that issue.
I'm sure they would be really relieved, but Brendan, it's still a lot of sticking points. Does it allay the Trump administration's concerns, for example, about digital taxes, something you and I had talked about yesterday?
Yeah, exactly. The president threw the digital tax issue into the mix, and that probably ignited some the Europeans to move more quickly because you throw something an issue like that, which is basically a red line for the Europeans, into the talks at this late stage, and the whole thing could come apart, or at least anger some EU members that stand firmly behind their digital regulations and taxes. So you see the Europeans moving as quickly as they can to get across this threshold with this framework agreement before President Trump decides he wants to make those negotiations even tougher to pull off.